Hello everyone, I'm Allison with Green Goddess Plants and Seeds, and welcome to another garden chat. I don't know how many more I'll have, but I'll keep going as long as I have stuff to show you. This is one of our cats. That's Simba. She's a very lovey, affectionate cat. And over here we have Shadow. He's a wonderful garden companion. Hello everyone. So welcome to another garden chat. I don't know how many more I'll be having, but today what I wanted to do is show you a little bit of our pepper harvest. We actually in the end got quite a few peppers, lots of hot ones, lots of bell peppers. So I'll take you inside and show you what we're doing with the hot peppers. And then what I want to do is a bit of a review of some of the tomato varieties that I grew this year. So I might end up doing that in two parts because there's quite a few out there. Weather-wise, it's been dry. We did have rain there at the beginning of the month, quite a bit of rain, and a little bit of frost, obviously. But now we've actually had some rather warm temperatures and some dry conditions. So, you know, all things considered, it's been actually really a lovely fall, a lovely autumn. So the trees are all turning, as you can see. You know, the leaves are falling, the geese are moving. I've seen so many geese, and you know, Canada geese and snow geese and sandhill cranes going overhead. It's just been amazing. So, so let's get started. So this is part of our pepper harvest. I finally got around to picking all of the peppers off. These are the hot peppers. We had a whole mix of stuff. These are mostly jalapenos, but there's also some serranos in here on the bottom. There looks like a nice serrano there. Find some few more. There's a few more. Serranos did surprisingly well in our garden this year. We've also got some Anaheims. There's some Anaheims, and most of the ones in the sink, these are all Anaheim peppers. So I'm just giving them a quick rinse to rinse all the dust and dirt off. And then over here, I've already started the process of putting them in our small dehydrator. So it's just a really small electric dehydrator, nothing fancy, nothing, you know, no fancy brand names here. It's just something that my grandmother had, honestly, and it worked. It's worked for me before, so that's what we're using. So basically all I'm doing is cutting the tops off and otherwise putting them in whole. Again, these are mostly jalapenos, but there's some Tobago seasoning peppers, and we do have some Scotch bonnets, and I have some Sugar Rush peach that I picked from the city garden. So they'll all get, so what's going to happen is we're going to dehydrate them all, and once they're all nicely dried, what we'll do then is put them through the blender or the food processor to grind them up into a powder, and that will become our hot pepper spice blend number 2. Our pepper spice blend number 1 was made last year, so this is this year's hot pepper blend number 2. So that's what we're doing with the peppers. And this is the other half of our pepper harvest. So as you can see, they're mostly green peppers with a couple of lovely purple ones. This is a purple star bell pepper, but the rest are a mix of King of the North, California Wonder, and Fat and Sassy. Yeah, I just threw them all into a bin. I didn't bother. The tags kind of went missing on them, so I really can't tell you what the varieties are other than the purple star, which is kind of obvious. Okay, so this is my, you know, I guess maybe part 1 of my tomato review. Some of the tomatoes are looking very sad as it is getting towards the end of the season. I've been trying to salvage what I can out in the garden. You know, we've had couple of rounds of frost, so some of them are looking kind of sad. Late in the season, there's lots of blossom end rot. There's lots of cracking. Of course, the cracking is leading to a lot of rot and mold, and so one of our biggest challenges that we've had this year with the garden and growing such a large garden for the market and everything else is dealing with the excess, dealing with the stuff that doesn't sell, because we're both so busy doing other things that getting around to processing stuff, just it's not happening. So that's unfortunate for us. But anyway, let's get back to this tomato review. So these ones at the end here, these are the Black Beauties. I was so impressed with how many I got. Like the plants were just loaded with fruit. And they're quite dark. Like I'm impressed with how dark they actually got. So when they're ripe, of course, they will turn red like that one. That one's a nice ripe one. So that's the Black Beauty. Next beside it, we have the Dark Galaxy. It's another lovely, very lovely tomato. Now the ones, some of them are darker than others. So the ones that got exposed to more sunlight on the surface turned dark. They turned the darkest, right? Because anything with that anthocyanin color pigment has to have that sun exposure to turn dark. So some of them are not as dark as others, but they still look kind of pretty. Now there is another variety out there in the garden that I've got called Blue Fire, which I will review later. And it looks almost exactly the same, but it doesn't have the same flavor. Now this one I was really looking forward to growing last year, and I don't think I got anything off the plants. This is the Pink Jazz, and as you can see, it's got some lovely striping, and they are also huge tomatoes. I just can't believe how big they are, but you can see the cracking happening there at the top. But they're just, like, I haven't weighed them, but I'm pretty sure there's at least a couple of 1-pounders. And you can see the rot that's already happening. Like, they're spoiling so fast before we can even have a chance to use them. But I might give this one a variety another go. I might save seed from the ripe ones. And just see if it performs better from my saved seed from my own garden. These sad ones here, this is the Blue Beauty. It looks kind of similar to the Black Beauty, but it's not as dark. And I don't know if you can actually see, it has more blue, purplish blue tones in it. And of course it's spoiling really fast as well. This is the Dr. Wyche's Yellow, which compared to the Morden Yellow is actually orange. And it is more of an orange tomato than a yellow one, but it is another nice big beefy slicer. Has a nice sweet flavor to it. I was actually pretty impressed with the tomatoes, with the ones off of these that I got. So I think my only concern with a lot of the tomatoes is just how late they are, how long it took for most of them to ripen. And of course, these are the Morden Yellows. A lot of the nicer ones I've already picked, but they are an early tomato. They were developed, in Manitoba at the research station in Morden, Manitoba. And it's sort of a sister or a cousin to the Manitoba tomato. And then this one here, this was another new one for me. This is the Sart Roloise, and I ordered this one from Baker Creek. And it took me a while to figure out if these were ripe or not, and they kind of feel ripe, they kind of not. It is supposed to be like a light yellow with the dark antho coloring on it, and as you can see, there's lots of cracking happening, but I think that one's ripe. But look at this, look at the size of this one. That's huge. Something like this, though, I think is a result of the fasciated blossoms, and that's where you have multiple blossoms kind of fused together, and of course it blooms and they set fruit, and that's where you get all the weird shapes. This is the Auria tomato. This is my preferred paste tomato, and they do get a little bit bigger than this. I just picked a few of the ripe ones that I could find out there. There are quite a few out there in the garden yet still. But for comparison, these are the San Marzano. So they can get just as big as the San Marzanos, but I prefer the Aurias because I actually found them to be actually not bad for fresh eating. Whereas the San Marzanos are sometimes said not to be so good for fresh eating. These ones are my black Brandywines. Yeah, I thought I would have gotten more, and I think there were more out there, but a lot of them just seemed to have rotted on the vine. Like they just didn't. It's like they went from being, you know, way underripe to suddenly overripe and rotting in no time. Like I just couldn't seem to get to them quick enough. It was really kind of weird. And these are my Berkeley tie-dyes. There's a lovely one. Some of these on here are probably way overripe, like these ones here, but not too sure what we're going to do with them all. But you can see the lovely striping on it still. Like I said, our biggest challenge is trying to process the leftovers or the leftover produce. And this is the Feuerwerk. This is one of my personal favorites, and it was fairly early when it came to setting fruit. It set fruit a lot faster than a lot of the other ones did. And it has the lovely striping, and it has a nice flavor. Although some of the striping almost turned into scarring. I'm not sure why that happened, but it's actually quite a lovely, lovely tomato. And I think it's kind of game to... A lot of these ended up with, again, with that fasciated blossoms. That's what this is, where you have all that cat facing on the bottom and the weird shape. But that said, it actually performed probably the best in the garden this year. So that's probably going to be a grow again for sure. That's the Feuerwerk. And this one, lastly, for this round of the tomato review, this is the Florentine Beauty. This was new to me this year, and this is the one that I was so excited about. I just really wanted to grow it. It looked fantastic in the photos, and I think I ended up with only one plant in the garden, just because I sold some and I only ended up with one left. And I was so disappointed. They took so long to bloom. I was sure I wasn't going to get anything off of that plant. But I went out and took a peek at them the other day, and I found one ripe one, and of course a bunch of green ones. So at least I'll get to taste it. So I don't know if I'll grow this one again. What I might do is try to save the seed from this one lone ripe tomato. I might try and save the seed from that one, and then grow the seed from this and see what happens. The reason for that is, like, yes, I mean, the days to maturity are probably still going to be the same, but they say that if you save seed from a particular variety that you've grown in your own garden, those seeds, the plants that come from those seeds, are now adapted to your own particular climate, to your environment, to the growing conditions, to, whatever in your own garden. So I thought, well, maybe if I do that, maybe next year it might perform a little bit better. I might start this variety a little bit sooner. I don't know if I would offer it for sale at the plant sale. I might just grow a couple of plants for myself maybe, but we'll see what happens with that. So that is part one of my tomato review. I'll probably be doing another one in the next couple of days as I go through and start the tomato cleanup and start pulling out the plants. And I just wanted to collect a few from each variety so that I could show you, have a visual record of some of the stuff that I grew this year. I did have over 30 different varieties of tomatoes planted, so these are just some of them. So I hope you'll join me again for another tomato talk or tomato review or whatever you want to call it. 30 different varieties. That's a lot of tomatoes. I know going forward, I'm trying to have a plan in my head so that I don't end up with quite so many leftover tomatoes. Like, I still would like to do between 20 and 30 different varieties for the plant sale, because I do want to offer a good selection of tomatoes, right? But I think what I might just end up doing is cutting back on the number of plants that I start so that we don't end up with quite so many in the garden. Enough to try the plant for ourselves to see what it's like and what it tastes like, so that we can tell people from our own experience what it's like, right? So Anyway, I hope you're having a great week. It's a beautiful autumn day out here, even though it's overcast. It's actually quite warm. I actually don't need a jacket out here, so kind of hoping the nice weather continues, as we do have lots of garden cleanup yet still. So anyway, hope you're having a wonderful day and a wonderful week, and I hope to be talking to you again real soon. So until next time, take care.